Hello there, Taurus. We're going to start doing things a little bit new on your videos that are focused first each sign. I was getting kind of bored with how things were going before. So I want to see what we can do to sort of shake things up. And so I want to talk about, I think we're going to look at like 5 topics in this video that are going to be affecting you either now or here very shortly. And what I'm going to use is I'm going to use my Lenormand deck to help us pick what 5 topics. So we're going to let Spirit really pick the topics that we're talking about for this video. And I am putting the intention on this as being good for the next 30 days. That's what the time frame should cover. So this isn't going to be timeless, but this is going to be good for 30 days from the date of upload. So let's see what our topics are going to be today, Taurus. Let's see what shows up. First card we have, this is something going on in the public sector, so this can have to do with reputation. Do I want to clarify that at all? I think not. I think we're just going to leave it like that and see how that works. So that's going to be our first topic. And then let's check and see what our second topic is going to be today. And we have what? Clouds. This is confusion. So we're going to talk about something that there is some confusion in. Does not have to be related to public sector. It's going to be interesting for me to see how these play out, if these end up all tying together by the time we get to the end of the reading, or if these end up being 5 separate topics. We'll see. Oh, we've got the snake. All right. So that's somebody being a little bit tricky. Maybe saying things in a roundabout way. Maybe this is somebody who can't speak very directly. Maybe they don't, I should say, maybe they don't know how to speak very directly. They can be a little bit passive aggressive, or they can just be somebody who just, they try to sort of test the waters before they talk about anything. That could be too. Let's see what else we got. And we have the mountain. This is going to be about, I'm hearing this is going to be about something at a distance. Sometimes this card is about obstacles, but right now I'm hearing that that's something at a distance. So that's going to be our 4th topic. Let's see what our 5th topic is. What is our 5th topic for Taurus? The Aries got a completely different video. I did that video and then I thought, you know what? That's not the format that I want. Back to the drawing board. 5th topic. Okay. This has to do with government or some kind of government entity. It can be anything from the courthouse to the schoolhouse, the DMV, or it can have to do with big company. I feel like this feels like government to me, just touching that. So something going on with the government. This can be taxes. Maybe this talks about your tax return right here. We'll see. We'll see what it talks about. But so let's start with our first topic. I want to take the rest of these and set them off to the side for right now. And we're going to look at our first topic. Now, our first topic is something to do with the public. This is going to be having to do with something that you're doing in public or your public reputation or something like that. We'll see what the cards have to say about this situation that has to do with the public. Also, the public sometimes is internet forums, public chats, that type of thing. Or maybe even private chats, but there's a lot of people. We'll see. We'll see. So what are you telling us about being in the public for Taurus over the next 30 days? Oh. Okay, so Taurus is my rising sign, by the way, so definitely paying attention to this reading. See if I can get everything on camera here. That's probably going to be the biggest struggle about this. It's making everything fit. Anyway, so what we're doing in the public sector, or what's going on in the public sector for us. With this 4 of Stones, this says that we are pouring a lot of energy and effort into something going on in the public sector right now. With the Tower coming up, this basically says we're shaking things up. This is something, we're pouring in all of this energy. So we're the ones that are shaking things up whenever it comes to how we're viewed in the public sector or something that we're doing in the public sector. The Two of Scrolls in reverse talks about there's some indecisiveness about what direction we actually want to go. We know we want to shake things up. We're not sure which direction we want to go. For me, I can already tell you this is what I was just talking about. This talks about the idea of putting a lot of energy into shaking things up when it comes to my video format, not being exactly sure where that's going to land yet. So that is very timely and a perfect example of the type of energy I'm looking at. So this has to do with something that you're doing to interact with the public, where you're putting in a lot of energy because you're wanting to make a big change and you're not sure where this change is going to go yet. So I'm hoping with that much information, you guys know exactly what we're talking about. I think I want to grab another deck, actually. I wasn't planning on this, but I do want to grab another deck. And we're going to use this for our advice deck for this situation. I do need to clear it, though. I cleared the other decks before I got on camera, but I want to make sure that this is clear before we actually move on with the reading. I also thought about doing, best advice on an extended reading, and I just thought, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. All right, so let's see what we have here. This is my Mist of Avalon deck that I bought on Etsy from a lady that had a store, and she was in Odessa, not Odessa, Texas, but Odessa, Ukraine. That store is closed now, which makes me wonder what ended up happening to her. I was actually really surprised how quickly it got to me. I considered buying from a country that's at war. I kind of thought, that money might be gone. I might never get that deck. But it came in pretty quick, in a couple of months. About the same as if I would have ordered from anywhere else overseas. Excuse me. All right, so let's take a peek at what's our best advice here on, I think I want to go with what's our best advice here on what direction to go, because there seems to be some confusion here with it. Two of, what are they calling that in this deck? The Two of Scrolls. By the way, this is my Chrysalis Tarot that I'm pulling here. This is my Gilded Lenormand by Chura Marchetti. So let's see. What is best advice for where we land? What would you advise us about where we land after we do this shakeup? What direction should we be pointed, or what direction should we be looking here? And this is a general reading, so it'll apply to most of you, but maybe not all of it will necessarily apply to all of you. You want to take what resonates, see what resonates, and then what doesn't resonate, you want to let that go. And let the person who needs to hear it know. Okay, so first of all, what do we have? We've got the Hermit coming up in reverse here. Let's see if I can sort of lift all these onto the camera. We've got our Hermit coming up in reverse. What is this here? My Seven of Swords. That's interesting. And we have our Justice card in reverse. Now this is interesting. So Hermit in reverse says that whatever this is that we're doing in the public, maybe we've kind of taken a little bit of a hiatus from it, or we haven't been as consistent as we wanted to. This says, come on back out. And this talks about the idea of, with the Hermit, we always actually think about, what are our priorities? What makes sense to us? What is important? And so this really talks about the idea of giving our direction some thought. And once we've really thought about what direction we want to go, that's when it's time to come back out and interact with the world in a more consistent way based on the new priorities that we've set for ourselves. With the Seven of Swords, this is an interesting card. It's very different than what we see in the typical type of tarot. I want to see if I can get that in the camera a little better for y'all. But this really talks about, you can see this is a warrior. He's been through a lot. He's actually got blood coming down on his face. There's even blood on just splattered all around, actually. And so, but we've got the Seven of Swords here. To me, this looks like it's in a church. We've obviously got a priest right there. There has been, in this card, this talks about the idea that there has been some despicable things happening. I mean, this almost implies like maybe there was an attack at a church or something like that. So it talks about this really, this awful situation. And the Seven of Swords talks about, sneaking away from something really. Like a lot of times we see it as robbery or theft. For me, I see it as kind of leaving something on the down low, not being really dramatic about it, not burning any bridges. But to me, this is like, okay, we're trying to go away from whatever the massacre has been in our lives, fellow Taurians, whatever that massacre has been. And that's really some colorful imagery, isn't it, for me to say that? But where we've taken some pretty good hits, we're trying to go away from that. We're trying to heal up from that and go in a nice forward direction. So we really want to be thinking about how can we heal up from something that we took some pretty big hits on and move away from, the area where we have incoming hits and find something that is more calm and something that brings us more peace. We have this priest here, which to me talks about this idea of somebody who tries to embody peace and tries to carry peace and tries to carry love. So this talks about sneaking away from something that has been really chaotic and quite the upheaval, actually, and moving into a place that's more peaceful. Now, Justice card is what we have coming up next. And it's interesting how this is coming into me because the Justice card talks to me. This would be like Merlin's table in this deck because remember, this is the Mist of Avalon. And so I always heard that Merlin had a round table, but this is how they picture Merlin's table. And so we have these people that are sitting at the table, talking to each other, sorting out what needs to happen. What should we do going forward? If you want to picture like the Knights of the Round Table, but you've got this Justice sword right here in the middle too. They want to do what's fair and moving forward, but it's in reverse. So this basically says that whatever we do moving forward, we want to make sure that we're gracious about it. We don't want it to necessarily be fair. Okay? So this can talk about the idea of maybe we're offering something and we're making sure that there is so much value with what we're offering that whatever people are giving in exchange, they're recognizing that they got way more value than they expected. All right, so we want to look at something that is the direction that we want to go in is something that takes us away from the chaos and into a place where we can be really gracious. And the direction we want to go in is one that we want to really think it through before we go into that direction, which basically says don't hurry things as we are shaking things up and going our new direction. We don't need to hurry things to land in the direction we're going to go. We can take our time to really think things over and explore different ideas and experiment with those and make sure that what we're looking for is some kind of idea that brings us away from something that happened that was dramatic or chaotic and bring things into something that's much more calm and peaceful. And with the Justice card in reverse, really this is a suggestion to do this in a way that that we are making sure that whoever we're interacting with feels like they come away from the situation with the better end of the stick instead of the worse end of the stick, the short end of the stick, as my dad might say. So we want to make sure that whatever we come up with not only brings us out of the chaos and the drama that we've been dealing with, but it also, as we're interacting with others, is more than fair. That's how I want to say that, is more than fair. Okay? Yep, and that's about our public, our interactions with the public is what all this is about. So we're pouring out energy to shake things up We don't know exactly where we're going to land. We want to think about that before we actually move forward with it, really. We want to make sure that we come up with a solution that allows us to come into some kind of healing or some kind of peacefulness again. And we want to also make sure that whatever we come up with is very gracious to the other people that we're interacting with in the public sphere. So for me, this could be anybody's like sideline thing. If you do something for the public, side gig, or this could be even if you own your own business, or if if you're, whatever you're doing out in the public, if you're the head of the PTA or whatever it might be, it looks like it's time to take it in a new direction. And maybe we don't know what that new direction is. Maybe it's a little bit of a leap of faith to get to what is that new direction. The advice is to think it through, make sure it solves a problem for us, and make sure that it's gracious to whoever we're interacting with in public as well. Okay, so it doesn't have to be about business or work either. It could be anything that you do in the public. So we're going to pull these cards back away so that we can put them in the deck for the next shuffle. And the next thing that we're talking about is confusion. So we've got something going on that is causing some confusion in our lives. We're going to see if this ties in. I'm not sure if it will or not. It could tie in with the idea of we don't know where we're going with this shakeup that we're making. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it's about something completely different. Let's just put down some cards and see what Spirit has to say about this. So some kind of confusion. I'm feeling like this is confusion that we are having, and we may be passing that confusion along to other people who kind of expect us to have the answers. That's what I'm getting off of that just psychically. Excuse me. All right. Tell us more about this confusion, please. Okay. Interestingly enough, this is our Hermit card for this deck. It's called the Storyteller, though. So, what do we have here? This is interesting because we have scrolls sandwiching the Hermit or the Storyteller. This is going to talk about Virgo, which is more of an earth sign, being really well grounded. So, with my 10 of Swords, this talks about bringing something to an end that's been a long-term source of conflict or debate or tension. Okay, well, confusion is a source of tension, I think. So this talks about bringing this confusion to an end, whatever this is. And we're bringing this confusion to an end. This is definitely tied in with what we're doing in public. We're bringing this confusion to an end by taking time to think about what are our priorities, where do we want to go from here, and how are we going to do that. The idea that this is called the Storyteller, this tells me that this has to do with some kind of communication. I am really already tying this into the public. I don't know if all Tauruses have social media, but there's some kind of communication that you do. I'm going to say we don't all, but there's some kind of communication that we do with that Storyteller. And you're bringing an end to some kind of confusion by really going inside and checking within yourself. What are your priorities? Where do we want to go from here? How do we get there? This Hermit is very thoughtful, very meditative, and really tapped in. The Hermit really does tap into Spirit quite a bit just by understanding themselves. They ask Spirit to help them understand themselves. And so that's what we're looking at with clearing up this confusion. Now with my 7 of Scrolls, this is interesting. My 7 of Scrolls is talking about the idea of, that's funny, that's the same as what we had in the answer on the last. So the 7 of Scrolls talks about this idea of, but it's in reverse here, talks about the idea of going back to something that we've left before, and going back without, going back to some place that we left before without burning any bridges or anything. We just kind of left sort of on the down low. We didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings or make a big ruckus, be all dramatic about it. Now we're coming back kind of the same way. We're not being all dramatic about it. We're just doing this. This is no big fanfare or no big announcements. And so I think this is the idea of we are bringing this confusion to an end. We're figuring out how we want to move forward. And with this Seven of Scrolls, we're coming back without any big fanfare. And when this card is right side up, these doors are closed. We're not really getting through with our messages. When this is in reverse like this says that we're coming back without any fanfare, and it's scrolls. So we're doing a lot of communication as we come back. There's a lot of communication happening, and these doors are open. We're communicating things that people are open to hearing. So this is kind of like the idea of meeting people where they are. So maybe part of how we clear up this confusion is we pay attention to people where they actually are to figure out, okay, what are they open to hearing? It's like we're bringing something forward out of ourselves, and we're coming out of this confusion so we can bring it forward with that storyteller. And we're bringing forward things that people are ready to hear. And this isn't talking about candy coating. This is talking about where people are in their minds and in their lives and what they need, basically. When I was a kid, I heard I was an adult by the time I heard this, but I heard a pastor say, I think I was in a Pentecostal church by then, but I heard a pastor talk about that a pastor preaches to the congregation when they come up with that sermon that they're preaching on Sundays to their congregation, or any days that they preach actually. Spirit is giving them what that congregation needs to hear and is ready to hear, to talk about. And so the pastor is going to be, the point he was making is the pastor is going to be at the same level as the congregation. And where the congregation is going to determine to a certain degree where that pastor is. And where that pastor is going to hopefully pull that congregation along further. But it's a very intermingled thing. And I think what we're seeing here with these doors being open, because this is in reverse, we're seeing that we are bringing something, to get rid of this confusion. We're figuring out what we can bring to the public that they are ready to hear, that they are open to hear, maybe even information that they're looking for, or maybe it's products that they're looking for. Okay, so that's what we have as far as confusion. Let's look at our best advice around the idea of bringing an end to this confusion, doing that inner soul searching so that we can bring something to the world that they are ready to hear. I kind of like how this is all tied together so far. We'll see what happens. We'll see if they all end up tied together. Always fun to experiment a little bit. All right, let's see what our advice comes up as around this situation. So we're starting off with the Five of Wands in reverse. Followed by the Fool in reverse. Followed by the Eight of Pentacles. Okay, so this has to do with work. So public sector, work part of the public sector with the Eight of Pentacles. With the Five of Wands talks about not being distracted. So as we are figuring out how to end this confusion, part of it is don't be distracted. We're focusing on what's important to us, what are our priorities, and then bringing those out to the public. And part of our priorities are what does the public need to hear? Don't be distracted. As we are ending this confusion, we don't want to be pulled off course. We don't want to be distracted by other people's ideas or what other people have to say. Not saying that having good advisors isn't helpful, but with this Hermit, we're clearly being given advice to go within ourselves. So in this particular case, our higher self has the answer. So this is saying don't be distracted, don't be pulled off course, because it's a Five of Wands in reverse. When it's right side up, there's all kinds of creativity going all kinds of different ways trying to accomplish the same thing. When this is in reverse, I'm really focused on my thing. I've got my laser focus. Whatever's going on around me doesn't make any difference because I'm not going to be distracted by what's going on around me. I'm going to stay focused on what I've figured out my priorities are. So once we figure out the priorities, stay focused, don't allow ourselves to be brought off track, okay? Now, the next card that we had showing up here is the Fool card coming up in reverse. The Fool card says, continue on. Once you've set that focus, then you want to continue on with it. Remember, we don't want to be distracted. We want to keep going with it. So it may show up that we might start whatever this is. We may start in that direction that we decide on, and then we realize, oh, there's all these other options too. The Fool card says, we've already started a leap of faith here. Don't throw it out before you've seen what the harvest is from this leap of faith that you've started. In other words, maybe, if you want to consider this like planting that seed out into the universe of what we have to offer to the public, now it's not time to stop. Once we've landed on what we want to do, it's time to keep going. Don't throw that seed back. Don't pull it out of the ground. Keep it going. So keep going, even if the initial progress is slow. Usually when we start something with the public sector, initial progress can be a little bit slow until things kind of catch on. So that's okay. We don't care. We want to stay steadfast and keep moving forward. And the Eight of Pentacles, like I alluded to before, this has to do with work. This just says work. And it says, the Eight of Pentacles talks about this idea of working things out, making things happen, being diligent, being steadfast about that work that we're doing. It's really kind of an echo of this keep going that we have from the Fool. Keep working on it. And also, keep practicing it. Keep fine-tuning. Don't pull the seed up out of the ground, but it is okay to fine-tune your process. Because with work, we're putting our own personal stamp on whatever it is that we're doing. And we're making it something that nobody else does like we do. Maybe nobody else does at all. Okay? And so that's the advice is once we've made up our mind about what we're going to do and that confusion is done, don't be distracted. Don't come off track. Don't let other people tell you whatever. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. You've begun a leap of faith. You don't want to abort that early. You want to keep going with it. And with this Eight of Pentacles, it says just keep working on it. And it's Pentacles, so it moves slow. So I think we should expect it's going to take, a little bit of time to get that seed planted before we actually see the first sprouts come up, the first harvest for this shakeup that we're creating here. All right, well, let's see what happens with our next topic. It almost feels like Spirit's just kind of hammering this one home, doesn't it? Hammer, hammer, hammer. Hammer, hammer, hammer. All right, next topic is the snake. This can be about things. This can be about a circuitous route. This can be about somebody being dishonest. This can be about, something that kind of takes a while that we have to kind of fine tune even. We have to make little adjustments here and there and another little adjustment and another little adjustment. Let's see what this snake is about. And if you notice on this deck, this snake is all wrapped up in an apple tree. Can be about temptation. Can be about temptation. I think we're looking at some kind of temptation, actually. Boo-ba-doo-doo-doo. Maybe we're tempted to procrastinate a little bit or to take some kind of circuitous route. Let's see. Let's see what the cards have to say. Let's get some clarification. Oh, the Queen of Scrolls. The Knight of Scrolls. We've got a lot of scrolls happening, guys. and the King of Spirals. Okay. So for me, when I see the Queen of Scrolls, now she's my businesswoman. All right. She's got her thinking cap on. She can make a plan. She can follow through with it. She's really fantastic. You know, she's really somebody that can handle things logically. She doesn't let emotions sway her decisions. She can focus. She can focus quite well, actually. And the Queen of Scrolls is also somebody who oh, this is interesting. I forgot about that with the snake. The snake is very intelligent. So they can make a plan and follow through with it really well. And the fact that we've got this queen here, the queen says that whatever this is, whatever this plan is, whatever this activity is, this is something that nurtures other people. Okay? Which is kind of a hat tip back to the idea of the public doesn't have to be, can be just your family. But she's very nurturing to the people in her sphere of influence and highly intelligent. So this could easily be talking about running a business that empowers other people or nurtures other people in some way. Now, we see nurturing because she's the queen. The other thing to know about the Queen of Scrolls, she can come off cold. Even though she's nurturing, she can come off cold in the way that she does it. She may not show a lot of emotions even while she's doing things that can nurture and uplift others. Okay? The Queen of Scrolls really emphasizes this idea of looking at things from a business perspective. Have that thinking cap on, have the strategy, have the plan about how to nurture other people. Okay? Now, we have the Knight of Scrolls. This talks about taking action. Taking action. And the Knight kind of implies to me that this is sort of newer action. This is something that's a little bit newer to us. The Knight is a little bit, he's young. He's not the king. He's not the king, but he's upright, so he's making some good, solid decisions. So this basically says, we've got the plan to do something that nurtures somebody. This says, take action with that. And we've got the companion, the King of Spirals. This says that basically the more you work with this plan in a logical and smart way, the more inspired you feel. You're building on something that has inspired you to start with. Because this guy's the king. The king is building on a foundation that they've already laid. All right? So this is telling me, because I set my time frame for within the next 30 days. This is telling me that whatever this is, where we're clearing up the confusion and we know what we want to offer to people in public, that once we get our thinking cap on and we start taking action on the plan that we've set to help nurture people with this thing, people in the public, then with the King of Spirals, this says that this really tells me more in between the lines. It says whatever this idea is, it's something that's inspired. It's not just thought through. It's something that makes us feel something. It makes us feel enthusiastic and satisfied and fulfilled to be able to do this. And it's building on something that we did before that was inspired. We're just building, adding to that level of inspiration. So if we circle back again, then this also says that whatever this shakeup or this change is, we're taking something to the next level. We're not changing something completely. We're actually just graduating to the next level with it. All right. And we're being smart about it, but also we're taking kind of the circuitous route to get there too. I think life has us, going along as we need to, taking the route that works best for us. I don't know about y'all. I got a few years under my belt, and I can look back and I can see where things all built up into what I'm doing now, what's a part of my life now, in all areas of my life, not just career. And I think this is kind of a nod to that, saying, you know, that things are leading up. Things have led up to the idea of building on something that you've begun before. Okay? So, there we go for that. That's supposedly our third topic. Oh, I didn't look at advice. We want to see the advice still, too. Kind of feel like we're getting progression with these spreads. I told someone the other day, I want to take these and I really want to go deep. I want to sink my teeth into these readings. The weeklies were just starting to bore me. I want something where I feel like I'm actually looking at something that makes a difference in the videos. All right. The last ones were kind of just teasers. This is a little bit more helpful. Of course, if you guys want a private reading, still get a private reading with me. If you want mentoring, I do mentoring as well. And I do Reiki. So what is our advice? First of all, we have judgment. Second of all, Knight of Chalices. And the Nine of Swords. This is really interesting. Ooh. I see what's going on here. All right, so remember we already had the King of Spirals, which says we're just building on something that's already been inspiring to us. We're carrying it forward. We're leveling up. Okay? Judgment card. Look at this. It talks about bringing something back from the dead. And remember before we talked about maybe we've taken a little break. Maybe we haven't been out there so much. This is reinvigorating, revitalizing something and bringing it back. Okay, so really building on this idea actually that we're doing something that, like what we did before, we're just taking it to the next level. This is reinvigorating this and bringing it back. The Knight of Chalices. Knights always talk about taking action. And the Knight of Chalices, this is emotional action. This basically says, put our heart into this. We should put our heart into this. As we revitalize this, we should put our whole heart into this. Just like when I write my newsletters, I put my whole heart into those newsletters. This is the same thing. This is put your heart into. We have to put our heart into this thing that we're revitalizing, that we're building on something from the past, that we're upgrading. Now, we have the Nine of Swords. This almost threw me because a lot of times the Nine of Swords talks about tension. But if you look at this person, they're very focused on the sword. It looks to me like they're maybe even cleaning it up, but she's also kind of got, or he also kind of has this meditative stance. That's really interesting. I just got a new hit off of that card I've never got before. I don't think we're so much getting stress here, actually. I think what we're getting here, when we're cleaning something up, we're cleaning our tools, we're making them ready for the next go-around. I think this talks about, sharpening our skills, making sure we're not rusty. As we're revitalizing this thing to build upon it, we're following our heart. We're pouring our whole heart into it. And it's really important to make sure that we are doing this correctly. There's no cutting corners. All right? And the other thing that I get, not only the cleaning of the knife or the preparing of the tools, but also, and a lot of times we're the tool, or one of the tools. Okay? Now, the other thing that I'm getting is, like I said, this looks like a meditative stance to me. It's almost like this person is almost trancing out in the motion of cleaning up that knife. Kind of like how you can trance out if you're, beating a drum. So this to me says, stay in touch with spirit, do your meditation, keep your spiritual practice going to have guidance about how to move forward and to make sure that we kind of stay on track. And also that meditation keeps us sharp. Okay. So the advice here with this idea of revitalizing something, the advice about, making that plan and taking action on that plan and just building on something that we find inspiring, that we have been finding inspiring for a while, revitalizing that, following our heart, really pouring our heart into that, and also making sure that we're sharp. Make sure that we're doing, we're keeping our skills sharp. So practice, 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 practice. I like to tell people I have a psychic practice. I'm always practicing on you guys. I'm always learning new things. I'm always seeing new symbols. And so that's what we're seeing here is this idea of practice, practice, practice. Whatever this is that you're offering to the world, practice, practice, practice. Make sure you're sharp. Make sure you're on it so that whatever you're offering to the world, it's the highest quality that it can be. Whether it's a service like what I offer or whether it's a product, just make sure that whatever you're putting out there is the best that it can be, that you've really looked at how can I make this the best that it can be for my people, for my clients, for my customers, whatever the case may be for you, for my people in my organization if you do volunteer work, however this is that you're known in the public. Boobity-doo-doo. Let's see what's next. How many topics? We've got 2 more supposed topics left. So far, these guys are just like buttonholing right into each other. Let's see what happens for the mountain. I think I was picking up this is something at a distance. This can also be an obstacle. Sometimes distance itself is an obstacle. Let's know more about this mountain. What is this mountain talking about? Boobity-doo-doo, boobity-doo-doo. I want to go back to the snake. The other thing the snake does is she sheds her skin. She changes, she transforms. When she grows, she sheds her skin, and we were talking about upgrading what we do, revitalizing and upgrading. So that's interesting. All right, now back to the mountain. Back to the mountain. Let's see what we have. Back to the mountain. All right, what's this situation about? Oh, 10 of mirrors. We have some happiness showing up. 4 of stones. 7 of stones. Well, this is not about an obstacle if our first thing is happiness. This is definitely going on with something at a distance. I think I know what this is already. Okay, so something at a distance here. 10 of mirrors, this talks about whatever this is that's at a distance is something that makes us happy, happy, happy. All right. The 4 of stones talks about stashing something back or holding something back. And the 7 of stones talks about a payday that is delayed or is not coming in exactly when we thought it would come in. So there may be some kind of delay there. I guess I should look at the camera, not just the table. Okay. So I think here we're stashing something back. So on the good days, the days that, there's plenty coming in, we're stashing something back for the days where payday might be a little delayed, or maybe somebody is doing a payment plan with us, so we're not getting the full pay right away or something like that. Okay. So we may not have a full payday. We have happiness mirroring this time that we may not have a full payday. And we've got the mountains here, something at a distance. So I think this really says on the good days, as far as financially, on the good income days, we want to make sure that we're stashing something back so that we have a chance to do something happiness making on the days that are not so busy, the days that are not payday. Why do I say that? Happiness is right there. If we've got something stashed back, then if we have a little bit of a slow phase, okay, no worries. We've got that covered. All right. Now, also why I say that is I love to go to the mountains and I love to go hiking. Those are my happy days. And that is at a distance now that I live down here in town. And so those days that I'm actually in the mountains hiking or going to a hot springs or whatever I'm doing, generally that's not much of a payday. I mean, I've got some things that I do every day that pay a little bit, that adds up over time. But, maybe I'm not going to be doing a big reading, or maybe I'm not going to do a Reiki session for somebody because I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to be at a distance, finding my happiness, getting regrounded. And so I want to have something stashed back for the times, those days when I'm actually finding some happiness. So basically, I think what we have here for advice, and this could tie in or it doesn't even have to tie in, this could actually stand on its own pretty well too. Basically saying that we want to make sure that we've got, that we are setting aside assets so that we can escape and go off and do something that makes us happy, whether that's going to the mountains or whether that's something else at a distance. Maybe you like the beach. Maybe you want to escape to the beach. But we want to just make sure that, we've got finances in order so that we've got a cushion that allows us to do that without having to be all stressed out. Okay? So it might be time to, plan a trip specifically. Or it may be just keep in mind that when you're having these trips, when you're having your good days, keep in mind that you want to save something back for something nice, for something fun, whenever you're not having a big payday. I keep picking these up like I don't want advice, but my format was to get advice on the situation. And I kind of feel like these cards are giving us the advice we need, but I felt like that on the last one too. But let's see what else shows up. So, what is the advice around setting something back for a fun day or a day when there's not as much income? What is the advice there? We know we need to save. Look at that, 7 of Swords again, but this time in reverse. Ooh, let me scoot that up so you guys can see these. I keep forgetting to look at the camera to see what this looks like on the camera. All right, so 2 more Swords and a Wands again. Oh my goodness, excuse me. Okay, so we've got a 6 of Swords that is reversed. For me, the 6 of Swords, it's reversed. So it's like my get out of jail card if you've ever played Monopoly. I think of it as the get out of jail. Get out of jail free card. So this, you can tell. Like if you look at this right side up, obviously somebody's incarcerated here. Trying to get in the camera. So it came in and reversed that. This is my get out of jail. Get away from limitations or restrictions. So to get away from limitations or restrictions, this is going to help us stashing something back so that we're not limited and we're not restricted whenever we want to get out of town or go far away. Maybe we even want to go far away for something for work, but we don't want to be limited or restricted. We have the 7 of Swords coming up in reverse. And we have the 6 of Wands in reverse. So 7 of Swords in reverse talks about coming back into a situation. We talked about this with the other deck earlier. Coming back into a situation that we got ourselves loose from without a bunch of drama. Now we're going back into that situation and without a lot of drama too. So we want to get back into that situation where we don't have limitations or restrictions on the idea that we can go far away if we want to. And with the 6 of Wands in reverse, this is talking about, this is interesting because this card, I'm just looking at it because this card is different. In this deck, there's a lot of cards that are different. In this card, she's kind of gathering water. She's sort of getting refreshment here. And it came up in reverse. So I think basically we're saying we want to get into this point where we're not restricted because we've got more of a cushion, and even for the fun stuff, even for the getaways. And with the 7 of Swords, we want to come back to that point where we're not restricted. So apparently we've been in that place before where we could go wherever we wanted, whenever we wanted. So we're coming back to that place of not being restricted by making sure that we have the cushion, even on, so that we're not hurting on the days when we don't have money coming in. And with the Six of Wands in reverse, this talks about, I think this talks about this idea that we can always refresh ourselves. We can always revitalize ourselves. And this talks about this idea of, it's pretty hard to get refreshed. It's pretty hard to get revitalized if we're in a place of restriction where, we can't take time off. We have to work to cover all the bills. So we want to make sure that we've got some stashed away so that we can go ahead and get away so we don't hit burnout even. And we don't have to just stay past the point of needing revitalization with, just keep turning that grindstone. Yeah. So the advice here really is set some money aside so that we can get away and have some fun, be happy. That's going to get us out of a restricted situation. And we don't really want to go back to a place where we're feeling restricted again. So we want to make sure that, we want to start this habit of stashing things back. We want to keep that habit going. We don't want to let it slide. So this is talking about, a change in our lifestyle moving forward. Now, what do we have here with the Tower? This can be stuff to do with government. Like I said, school, library, IRS, court system, all kinds of stuff. Or it can be a big company. So we're going to take a peek and see what this has to do with. For those of us with Taurus placements. All right, let's take a peek. Let's take a peek. Tell us more about this Tower situation. A tower in Lenormand is nothing like a tower in the tarot. It's not bad at all. It just, it's a particular type of place. All right, what do we need to know about this? Okay, so we've got the Ace of Stones, we've got Psyche or the World card, and we've got the Moon card. The Ace of Stones talks about stability and security, setting a foundation on something, setting up that foundation in a good way. It may be that we're starting some kind of company that maybe we're expecting it to grow into a big company. Or it could be that we're starting something with the government. There could be, for some of us, this could be talking about some kind of government contract. For others, this could be starting some kind of negotiations with the government. So maybe some of us are talking to the IRS. Maybe some of us are bringing something to the courthouse. But this is the foundation. It's the foundation of something. So it's just the beginning. It's setting the foundation. And with this Ace of Stones, we're setting the foundation in a solid way. So whatever this is, we're initiating something having to do with a government entity or with a big business. And that may be different for different ones of us. Okay? Now, we have the World card or the Psyche card. I think this talks about the ideal. I can't believe the other thing that this card could be is the ending, wrapping something up. I kind of can't believe that we're setting the foundation correctly and then we're wrapping it up that fast. So I think what we have here is something that's ideal. So we're setting a foundation for something that is ideal, having to do with a government situation or a big company situation. And we've got the Moon card coming up in reverse. Or not coming up in reverse, coming in straight up. This says that whatever this is that we're doing, having to do with our company or our government thing, we're doing it on the down low. This is not something that we're broadcasting to all the neighbors or maybe even the people that are close to us in our lives. This is something that we're keeping close to our heart. We're not sharing it with everybody that we're doing this, but we're setting the solid foundation for something that is ideal, having to do with the government or with a company, and we're not telling everybody all about it. All right, maybe we're setting a foundation on our own company that we're hoping grows big, big, big. Or our own business project. Oh, we got some cards that fell. How many? Too many. Too many. All right, let's try this again. Let's see what our best advice is around this. What is our best advice around this? And by the way, this could totally be tying into with what we're doing in public as well. All 5 of these could actually tie together so far. Easily. That last one could stand on its own. None of the others really could. Let's see what our advice is around this one. Make sure I'm on the camera. Okay. 8 of Wands. It's a good idea to keep this close to our heart. It's a good idea to keep this secret. 8 of Wands is zipping those lips, man. We're not talking about it. 4 of Chalices in reverse says that whatever this is that we're doing because there's been some kind of disappointment, but we are expecting something good to come out of this. All right. This may be that we're bringing a case to court and we're making sure we've got the solid details. I don't know. Some of us could be doing that. And then we have our 3 of Chalices coming up in reverse. 3 of Chalices in reverse is basically talking about this idea that somebody did something that betrayed us or backstabbed us, or maybe they just did something that was annoying. I just think if we're taking somebody to court, I think the person did something that was more than annoying. I don't know that all of us are taking somebody to court. I can't even imagine what that would be in my life. But if this is something else, maybe it is just an annoyance, and we're looking for the silver lining. We are keeping quiet about whatever this is, where we're setting the foundation and we're looking for the silver lining on that situation. And I think we're in this situation where we're doing that because of something that happened with somebody that's close to us. That's, maybe not like in our family, but somebody that maybe we respected or that's close to us. Could be that somebody gave us some advice that was some bad advice at some point. And so now we are resetting into something that is more ideal, setting a foundation for something that's more ideal, but we're not telling anybody because we've already been burned by bad advice once, so now we don't want that bad advice again. So now we're keeping our lips zipped and we're expecting the best because we're not letting somebody's advice influence us, where we're recognizing. Remember, we saw earlier, we have the answers within ourselves. We had that Hermit card come up a couple of times, once as the storyteller, once as the Hermit. We have those answers within ourselves. This definitely is all tying together, guys. So we have the answers, and this could be something to do with the government, maybe even specifically the IRS, or something to do with a company that we're establishing, or a business project, or a contract with a company, something like that. But we are setting a solid foundation on whatever is the ideal. We're keeping quiet about it. Mum's the word. There has been some kind of disappointment here. We are expecting the best, but I think we're being so quiet because we don't want friendly interference. We don't want somebody who's trying to be friendly, who says some things that jacks up our perspective. And now we've basically got friendly fire that is sabotaging us, when if we hadn't heard what that friend had to say, we can carry that vision forward and not have any doubts and actually make it come to pass. So I think we're being quiet because, we don't want any dream poppers messing with our dream. All right. So that is our reading. Very interesting. We definitely dove deep on that, which is exactly what I wanted to do, something that's going to dive deep. Again, I thought we might have more than one topic, but it looks like that's not how Spirit's working this out. And that's just fine with me. I'm glad for Spirit to be doing the guidance. Thank you guys very much for being here. If you would like to book a private reading with me, you can find all my contact information on the website, which is, of course, on the screen. And I love working with you all. Thank you for all your support. Please share this video. Put a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, you're going to want to see the next video that comes out for you. So go ahead and subscribe. And yeah, thank you for being here. Peace out, everybody. Where's my mouse to turn this off?